Well, I guess that leads on to the final question.
Circumcision.
No, we'll turn the camera off about that. But what do you reckon about the future of pro bodybuilding? Like when we were like researching things to talk about, like say on bodybuilding.com, there's nothing really on like pro, like there's not a lot on the, you know, in the main channels of bodybuilding.
No, I think it's always going to be there, but because they made a point of it even on Fuad's show, on Bodybuilding and BS, on Nick Trigilli's show, he talked about it finally happened at that Boston Pro. They put the Classic on last. They had the men's open, and then the Classic was the last. Normally the men's open's always the last to go on, but they actually had the men's open.
Was the open prize money still higher?
I'm not sure what the prize money. It could have been, but the Classic was the one that went on last. Because I think, Classics still have a bit of size in that, but they're not as. I think when people see Classic, it's more obtainable, or in people's minds, and it's more flowing, and not, like I said, they don't have the bloated stomachs and shit, so they still look like muscular type models. And I think that's more appealing to the general public, even though if you're not pleasing the general public. But I think even younger kids who come up into the world, that's more aesthetically looking than looking like a big Rami or someone just big and bad. I think they like that look better.
And if you were entering the ranks today,
I wouldn't look at any. To me, it's like I went to the gym and trained, and what happened.
But would you like? I'm wondering if it's like there's this pressure that you've got to be this monster.
Well, I think if you go into bodybuilding, maybe if that's what they're rewarding, you think, well, shit, to win a pro show, I've got to be that big and look that way. Whereas the win Classic, you just got to be classical. But if I was training and I was building muscle, I'd find it hard to stop at the Classic point and then go, because every pro bodybuilder's been at that Classic point, but then they just go past it. So I think a lot of these guys who are in Classic 2 say, I could be an open bodybuilder, I just don't want it. It's like, no, you can't, because you probably would, because if you keep training, even using minimal gear, and you've got good genetics, you would grow bigger. So to stop yourself growing, then they got the other class beneath Classic, the physique, which is for the guys who can't be Classic and they can't be open, so then they got that. Like, we're just making classes for people who can't achieve the open bodybuilding class. Like the women's, we had this, and then we had physique, and then we had whatever it was.
Now we've got the health and
wellness class. So it's like they just keep adding. Just add a class for people who don't want to train.
Yeah.
Dad bod. The dad bod class. Why not? That's just everyone gets an award these days. So but the Classic is, like I said, a lot of people they always say, could Chris Bumstead do the open? I know he did open before, but as good as Chris is, even if he totally geared up and trained hard, I don't think he'd be a Mr. Olympia in the open, and that he might do okay in a smaller pro show. But I think there's just, it's like the people who couldn't achieve that could only get so far, so they made a class for them. Then it's like I said, the ones who couldn't get Classic, because Classic you need legs. There's a lot of guys who, no matter how much they train legs, they just can't build their legs and calves. So here's a physique for you where it's more centered on your upper body and that, and you wear board shorts. So.
But say when you were first starting.
13.
No, when you went to America, were there guys competing in bodybuilding that probably would have been Classic? Like before the
I can probably say, someone like Berry DeMay back in the day, or even Bob Paris.
Because that's what I'm
I know Classic goes on height and weight, so I'm not sure what Bob Paris in that way, but someone like Bob Paris would have a Classic type. Because the thing was, really, bodybuilding in the 80s, 90s, even midway through the 90s, was Classic, had a lot of Classic looking physiques. And then, because they started rewarding the mass monsters, and Dorian come along and then Ronnie, everyone's like, fuck, we've got to be big now. So everyone pushed the envelope and got bigger. Yes, freaky is good, but then they lost all the shape and size, so it's almost like now they had to make a Classic class, which bodybuilding used to be. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day through the 70s, 80s and 90s, the majority of them were Classic looking with the mass, like Samir Banu, you could say that was a Classic looking physique. So, Serge Nubret, even Arnold, he had like a Classic looking flowing physique, just had a lot of muscle on it. but there's nothing bloated or nothing like, you know, all those guys were Frank Zane. You could say that was classic, all of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
So it's like then they went so far this way. It's almost like we had to start this class, and that's what classic now is. What bodybuilding used to be. Even though, but even back then though, I think the classic physiques back then still were better genetics with freakier muscle. Because you look at say Serge Nubret, you'd say he had a classic physique, but you put him beside the Mr. Olympia Bumstead, Serge Nubret would blow him away.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, oh, just say you're a Frank Zane, training really hard and dedicated, and you look like that. Like, if you like, would he go, oh, I'm gonna like eat all this extra stuff to get to that?
I don't think he could though. I think that was his genetic potential, what he got to there,
Yeah.
whereas some guys can push the envelope more and add more size and get freakier, but then even they get to a point like Ronnie, even Branch. You see some early pictures of Branch, it's like, oh, everyone's done it. Ronnie, Branch, everyone, even Marcus Rui, they hit that point where they've been like, still got the shape and symmetry and still got the mass, and their waist is small, but then they push past it.
Yeah,
And then yes, they get bigger, but it's more around here and
Yeah.
stuff. Like the muscles, their chest and shoulders, and that they get much bigger. They start bloating out here and everywhere else, so they
Yeah.
just get more blockier. Which they can look freaky still, but yet they look better when they were smaller because
Yeah.
the waist was smaller, the shoulders look bigger. And once the waist gets bigger, then you lose that whole illusion of coming in and that sort of stuff. So yes, you can get bigger, but is it prettier? No, it's sort of, they've all been to that point where they looked almost perfect, and then they went past it and just looked,
because I think that's what's happened with women's bodybuilding.
Mhm.
That if you're a woman and you're right into training and you're going, oh, geez, you know, like that's what's winning. And
yeah. Well, that's what happened. Like I said, even when I was married to Kathy, because the women did go that far, and the women are like, well, fuck, we've got to get bigger. Now it's just getting out of hand. That they
Yeah.
said you have to lose 20% of your muscle. You need to bring it back down.
Yeah.
So some of them, like Kathy and all them, lost the 20%. They went to a contest and they gave first place to the big freaky girls
Yeah,
again. So I was
yeah.
like, well, what do you want? You know.
Yeah.
So now they've made that physique type class, which is meant to be
Yeah,
a smaller, toned down version of the. So they started rewarding the freakier women. So all the women thought, well, fuck, that's how we've got to look to win. So you got to really much blame the judges. If the judges, even if Dorian or Ronnie come along, and Ronnie was winning when he was
yeah,
small waist and that, but as soon as Ronnie started getting that, yes, he was big and freaky, but as soon as he started getting the bloated gut and shit, and they said, we got a thing saying if your stomach's bloated, you're going to be marked down. Some people did get marked down, like this William Bonnick,
Yeah.
but other people, Ronnie, didn't. So it's like they can pick and choose
Yeah.
who they use this rule on. So once Ronnie got to a certain point where he looked bloated and stuff in the guts and that, yes, as good as he looked, they could say, Ronnie, yes, but we've got to mark you down for that. So that's why I thought it was great when Dexter won the Olympia that time, because he beat Jay, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because Jay was getting a bit blocky, so I was like, oh great, they're going back. They've actually rewarded someone with
Yeah.
a nice physique, tight waist and that. So someone like Jay now is going to have to think, fuck, for me to win it back, or for other people, I got to tighten
Yeah.
up and get thing. But then the following year, brr,
Well, I was
back.
going to say, if they stuck with that criteria from that year, there
Yeah.
wouldn't even be any need for the classic division.
No, they could have kept it under control, but then they went back to the rewarding the freaks and getting bigger and bigger. Then I even like remember Flex best was probably around 218. He looked so freaky, and then when he decided to play the size game, 230, 240, he still looked good, but he wasn't as good as when he was tighter and his joints were smaller and shredded. He had the illusion at 218 he looked 250.
yeah.
At 230, 240 he looked like a soft 230, 240 without that freakiness to him anymore.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like they, you know, they're sacrificing the long term
Mhm.
of the sport for that. You know,
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's great. Oh, this freak comes out and
Mhm.
everyone's
Oh, it's good if he
like,
can be a
wow.
freak. Still, like look at Delet, he was a freak, but he still had the small waist and
Yeah.
that, so it can be done. You just got to
Even
know.
someone like Cedric McMillan,
Yeah.
he's still got that classic look.
Yeah.
He's 300
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah, so it can be done. Just you just got to know. Like I said, once you start, you're seeing that where it's going to places you don't need it. Then it's okay. Stop there and then just refine what you have. Go for more detail and get condition more. Because, like I said, it's illusion on stage. You could come in the contest the same weight a couple of years in a row, but just muscle maturity, conditioning, you can look different every year and look bigger just from the definition on the muscles, and you could be exactly the same weight. Sometimes you could even be lighter, and someone will go, oh fuck. It's like when I won that CN round, I said it before, that was the lightest I ever was at 199. People thought I was 220, 230. They're like, what'd you weigh? They said, what do you think I weighed? Oh, I had to be 220, 230. So I was 199. They're like, no fucking way. Are you under 200? I said, yeah. It's all an illusion.
I thought they judged you on how much you weighed and how much you bench pressed.
Yeah. What do you squat? Fuck yeah. How much milk do your titties produce? Oh, 2 litres. I don't have a vagina, but say we blow air up your hose, how much can you produce?
No.
No, so yeah, the judges are the ones to blame. You can't blame the athletes. They're only doing what they see in front of them, and if they see that's what's winning, they're going to try and look like that.
Yeah, and I think too, like a lot of
Just
people,
like if someone's running say someone ran 9 seconds in a 100-metre sprint, well, 9 seconds is what you've got to beat.
and like
And you're going to do what you can to beat it. If it's just 10 seconds, you're like, oh, okay.
and a lot of people get into training to be healthy and
Mhm.
fit, and then like
Goes out the window when you think, fuck, I've got to look like this now. It's like,
yeah.
whereas, like, so you might have gone to bodybuilding and you might have only done little cycles and done this and ate only this much, but now you think, fuck, I've got to push the envelope. I really got to push it
Yeah,
to get to here now. And as you're doing it, you know, fuck, I don't feel good. Fucking overweight, you're breathing heavy,
Yeah.
fucking taking more shit. It's like, oh, fuck, how long? When you're younger, sure, you can get away with it, but as you get older,
because we went on to the Olympia page, and just the sponsors are
they're going after more the classic type and influencers.
like there was nowhere near like the level of big companies.
No.
Like they're all fringe companies, and
Mm-hmm.
like a healthier.
Well, look at Dexter. He competed, like I said, for how long? All those contests he's done and that. And that's the thing, Dexter. Yeah, okay. We know he's probably used gear, or he has used gear, but he didn't push it. Like he trained hard, yes, and came in the best he could. But it was more about conditioning. And if he did make a little changes, adding muscles, just a couple of pounds, he never got too crazy in the waist, and that's why he had that longevity, because he wasn't going fucking full on crazy, As much as like Sean Ray, but he kept it around the same, and every year you can say, yeah, he looked the same, but his conditioning was great every year as a bodybuilder, and he still stayed healthy and shit like that. So
Yeah, no, it's disappointing.
it's like you got to be smart when you're doing it. It's like, yeah, you want to be big and freaky, yeah, but at what cost? And then it's like,
Yeah, and like.
and then like I said, if you are going to be big and freaky and you do get to that point, once you get past it, you're not getting any better, you're just looking worse, and you
Yeah.
got to try and think, okay, let me just stay here.
And I could understand doing it if you're going to be making heaps of money,
Mm-hmm.
but no one makes, any.
Yeah.
Well, even the best bodybuilder.
Well, then most of them,
that.
that well, fuck, you got more making money just influencing on Instagram
Yeah.
and that than these guys competing.
Yeah.
You can go to these expos now, and a guy influencer who's never competed would have a bigger line,
Yeah.
selling more products than a Mr. Olympia. So it's,
Yeah, no, it's sad.
Mhm.
Hopefully it can change
Well,
course.
the judges have to change it if they want it to
Yeah.
change. It's like if someone big and freaky comes out and was like, oh wow, yes, okay, he's impressive, but if you want the sport to be, healthy and that, you're going to have to pick someone. Like the last year, yes, Rami's big, but I preferred Brandon Curry's look easy last year. Even though Rami's big and freaky and whatever, I just thought Brandon Curry looked more polished, had that nice shape, small waist and stuff like that. So I'm sure Brandon's probably thinking, what do I do? Do I have to come in bigger now, or do I just come in more
that's it.
conditioned? If I push the envelope, my waist gets a bit blockier on me,
Yeah,
probably not going to look as good. I might not even get second, I might get fourth. So it's,
Yeah, he does that.
do I just do what I did exactly the same and just hope that he comes in a bit more
Yeah.
bloated and shit, then I can come in tight again and hopefully win that way. So you don't know what to do. It sort of keeps you in that, oh shit,